nothing but the truth. Why is this Bihar election so important?
This election will set the tone for the 5 elections to states upcoming in 2026, which is West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Puducherry and Kerala. And also, since Bihar is a North Indian state, it also sends signals for the upcoming battle of UP in 2027, which is seen as a semi-final for the Lok Sabha elections in 2029.
Let us look at the NDA's alliance strengths and weaknesses.
If you look at the SWOT analysis for NDA, Nitish is a strength as well as a weakness.
Right.
And I always say this, that a strength is a weakness because, let's say, confidence is a strength, but overconfidence is a weakness. Correct. So he is an asset as well as a liability for the alliance.
Let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of the Mahagathbandhan.
Tejasvi has emerged as a strong alternative to Nitish Kumar, primarily because of support from the younger population. Because this younger population is suffering from unemployment, which is today the largest or the topmost issue in Bihar. And this 18 to 24 or let's say 18 to 35 age group also has not seen the alleged jungle raj of Lalu Prasad Yadav.
What does your poll results, which you just had, the tracker that came a week ago, talks about in terms of one, anti-incumbency?
So around 48% respondents believe that the anti-incumbency is fairly high. I would say it's natural also for a 20-year-old government, correct? Amongst the constituents, again the anti-incumbency is fairly high amongst youth because they are suffering from unemployment, and also amongst Muslims and Yadavs, which are the core constituents of the Mahagathbandhan or the India.
So what does your tracker show about Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister?
Even now he is getting 25% support.
Voting
for
saying
CM.
he should stay on as
he
CM.
He should, or rather 25% people want to see him as CM, 32% want to see Tejasvi. He has a lead there because again his core MY vote block plus youth, and around 12% want to see Shant, 10% or 9% Chirag and 4% Samrat Chaudhary. So what is happening is that his sticky vote of 12 to 15% is backing him because no other party or alliance can put up a Kurmi or a EBC or a Mahadalit CM because he is the face of these 3 big vote blocks.
And if you look at who the electorate perceives to be best to deliver on development, for instance, does your poll say something about that aspect of it? Who do they feel more confident will fulfill their aspirations?
I think there is a marginal 1% advantage to Mahagathbandhan at this point of time. It is 35-36.
Hello, I'm Raj Chengapa of India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. Every week, we look at key issues that concern you and the country and bring you perspectives and clarity as to why these matter without any bias or BS, just the plain truth. Today, we will analyze the keenly contested upcoming Bihar Assembly elections. With barely 4 months to go, political equations are shifting, caste maps are being redrawn, and controversies are already heating up. So why is the Bihar Assembly election so significant? Who are the major players and parties? Which political alliance is ahead? What are the key issues that could swing the outcome? And how will the recent voter list controversy in Bihar impact the result? To help us analyze and answer these questions, apart from other issues, I'm delighted to welcome at this stage Amitabh Tiwari, noted political analyst who is the founder partner of a national and state poll tracker called 80 Vote Vibes. 80 Vote Vibes, am I right, Amitabh? That's the
80
new tracker that you've done.
Yeah.
So welcome to Nothing But the Truth.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be here, as always.
So let's begin with the first question, Amitabh, which is essentially, why is this Bihar election so important? I know it's an ABC kind of a question, but there might be a lot of people, checking, so what?
So Bihar sends the 4th highest number of MPs to the parliament.
Which is 40.
Which is 40, after UP, Maharashtra and West Bengal. This election is important because in 2024 Lok Sabha election, the BJP and the NDA did suffer some losses. But they have been able to recoup some of the losses with big wins in Maharashtra and Haryana, and also snatching a state from the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. So this election will set the tone for the 5 elections to states upcoming in 2026, which is West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Puducherry and Kerala. And also, since Bihar is a North Indian state, it also sends signals for the upcoming battle of UP in 2027, which is seen as a semi-final for the Lok Sabha elections in 2029. So that's why it is fairly important. If NDA is able to win the election, then it can prove or it can highlight the fact that 2024 general election was an aberration. If the Mahagathbandhan or the India bloc is able to win, then after a lot of controversy around the Operation Sindoor, ceasefire, this SIR, electoral roll revision, unemployment is a big issue, the opposition gets its mojo back after performing decently well or strongly well in the Lok Sabha election.
So let's start with looking, you'd mentioned the NDA or the National Democratic Alliance, led of course in this case by Nitish Kumar and his Chief Minister of Bihar, with its constituents backed by the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, and of course 2 other parties that are supporting the NDA alliance. Let us look at the NDA's alliance strengths and weaknesses, and then we'll come to the leadership issue with Nitish Kumar, who is, I think, in his 9th term or will be getting the 10th term as Chief Minister if things go the NDA's way.
Yeah, essentially 4th term, because he has switched parties, so that's why perhaps the number of terms is higher, but it's 20 years, less than 20 years. If you look at the SWOT analysis for NDA, Nitish is a strength as well as a weakness.
Right.
And I always say this, that a strength is a weakness because let's say confidence is a strength, but overconfidence is a weakness, correct? So he is an asset as well as a liability for the alliance. Asset in the sense that he has this sticky vote or core vote block of 12 to 15% vote share, comprising mainly of Kurmis, EBCs and Mahadalits, as well as he is very popular amongst the women because of various schemes which he has launched, including cycle distribution, prohibition, there is a Jivika Didi scheme, etc. He has also somehow become the face for turning around Bihar after the Lalu era, the 1990 to 2005 era. BJP has grown stronger, so it is now organizationally very strong in Bihar. It has its deep roots and also strong pockets of influence among the upper caste and the non-Yadav OBCs, and with LJP as a partner, they also have decent support amongst the Paswan community. So it has a bouquet of caste alliances now, which comprise anywhere between 60 to 65% of the population as its target addressable market, you can say. In terms of Mahagathbandhan,
I'll come to Mahagathbandhan
later,
but let us analyze the NDA itself.
Yeah.
Take a look at their performances, 2 performances. One in 2024, which they seem to have got, if I recall, 30 of the 40 seats with them. The performance of both these parties somewhat matched each other. But if you look at I'm talking the key constituents, JDU and the BJP. But if you look at the vote percentages, certainly they were much less than what was there earlier. And that's one of the things we need to look at. It's not like they won, despite winning 30 of the 40, they still didn't seem to have picked up in terms of vote percentage. And the surprise factor, of course, being the LJP coming in with Chirag Paswan and what he contributed, though he was not part of the alliance, but gets 5 seats in this one. So if you can analyze that and bring it up to date with the assembly elections that happened in 2020, yes. What is the movement you're finding?
Yeah, so if you see 2019, the NDA swept the Lok Sabha elections in Bihar, winning 39 out of 40 seats.
Right.
They were leading in 223 assembly segments out of 243. Now you come to the 2020 Vidhan Sabha election. The 2020 Vidhan Sabha election, Chirag Paswan was contesting separately. Both the alliances were tied at 37% vote share. And the difference between the alliances was only 12,000 votes.
Right.
The NDA got 125, so falling from 223 to 125.
Which was just about 3 seats more.
Just about 3 seats
that is
more
required
than
for a simple majority. Right.
And the Mahagathbandhan got 110. They lost 5 seats to AIMIM.
Right.
And the Congress strike rate was the worst amongst the Mahagathbandhan. Otherwise, it could have gone anywhere. Now, if you come back to the 2024 Lok Sabha election, Chirag Paswan came back into the alliance. Now, against 39 Lok Sabha seats, which the NDA had won in 2019, this time the tally fell to 30.
Right.
And the Mahagathbandhan plus one independent, Pappu Yadav, who joined the Mahagathbandhan later, or the India bloc, won 10 seats.
Right.
Now, in terms of assembly segments, I think it is 163 and 80-ish, 160 and 80 out of 243. Now, the last election was very close in terms of vote share, 37% each. And this election also is likely to see a very close fight because both the alliances have very sticky vote of 32 to 35%. And in any election, there are around 12 to 15% as of today undecided voters who swing either ways and who could emerge as kingmakers. And of course, there is a third force also.
We'll deal with, of course, the Jan Suraj party by Prashant Kishore, but let's now deal with the Mahagathbandhan. Then I'm going to come to the results of your latest tracker, but let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of the Mahagathbandhan as we had analyzed with the NDA. We, of course, Tejasvi Yadav, young, I think he's 36 years of age, led an alliance quite brilliantly, even in the Lok Sabha polls, seems to have pushed up in terms of their percentage of total votes. I think they were the highest if you look in terms of tally.
In terms of single
largest.
In terms of vote share,
And yet he has the weak link as the Congress, which is not pulling its weight as we saw in 2020, and not also, maybe it benefited in the Lok Sabha by winning a little more seats than what it had earlier, but certainly not, strengthening the hands of Tejasvi, or the transfer of votes doesn't seem to be that strong if you'd like to. So where are the strengths and weaknesses now if you look at just 3 months away? What is their advantages and disadvantages?
So Mahagathbandhan's strength is that they have very strong pocket vote in Muslim Yadav community, which comprises 32% of the population. So with 75-80% of support in the last elections, so they start itself with 27-28% vote share. Tejasvi has emerged as a strong alternative to Nitish Kumar, primarily because of support from the younger population. Because this younger population is suffering from unemployment, which is today the largest or the topmost issue in Bihar. And this 18 to 24, or let's say 18 to 35 age group also has not seen the alleged Jungle Raj of Lalu Prasad Yadav. So they have seen whatever Nitish Kumar has done, good or bad, correct? So here is a pocket, apart from MY, which is Muslim Yadav, he's also developed a core vote block of youth, like Nitish has of women. Strengths of the alliance, they have also, Mahagathbandhan also has now pockets of parties, like the left parties who have decent influence amongst the landless laborers, etc.
And there are 3 left parties.
And there are three left parties.
Of course, the strongest being, I guess,
CPI-ML. CPI-ML is the strongest.
Right.
Congress is a weakling, but it also brings some upper caste votes to the alliance, which normally would have gone to the NDA. In terms of weak link, again, every strength is a weakness. So the alliance is not able to go beyond the MY combination because
it has not made inroads into the EBC
it's not made inroads into the EBC and or the Mahadalits and the Dalits. And they have made some inroads, but not significant enough to turn around the election.
Despite the fact that you have the rival party of LJP sitting with the India bloc at this time.
No, the rival party of LJP is not the real LJP in that sense.
I mean, his uncle is running.
His uncle, yeah. Right. So that may not make significant difference to the alliance, but they have a party called VIP, which has decent support amongst the Malla or the fisherman
right.
community.
Yeah. One.
Yeah. So they also have now expanded beyond the MY, but still a limitation. And somehow the party has not been able to shrug off the Jungle Raj tag, which has been attached to the party. And they have not seen countering this also earlier. It's something like an accepted fact. It is just that this election, with the recent spate of incidents of law and order in Bihar, they are now aggressively countering the alleged Jungle Raj with terms like Gunda Raj or Rakshas Raj, etc., or Maha Jungle Raj under Nitish. And this seems to have some impact on the voters, especially amongst the youngs, because they have not seen earlier, and even amongst people who recall the earlier rule. If you combat them with data and facts and the recent incidents, some people are in double mind as to whether law and order has improved or not improved, because that is the strongest point of Nitish Kumar.
Now, since we're mentioning Nitish Kumar, he is a great plus and was also in the past. He was the one that wherever he went, that he went to the winning side and was able to swing the votes to them. But at 74, considerably diminished, possibly some physical or mental ailments that people talk about, but we don't know. That's something that only voters and those around him can discern. And also the fact that in many senses, anti-incumbency is beginning to show. What does your poll results, which you just had, the tracker that came a week ago, talks about in terms of one, anti-incumbency, how high is it, which segments are really, vociferously against the government now, and how does that impact the outcome?
Yeah. So around 48% respondents believe that the anti-incumbency is fairly high. I would say it's natural also for a 20-year-old government, correct? Amongst the constituents, again the anti-incumbency is fairly high amongst youth, because they are suffering from unemployment, and also amongst Muslims and Yadavs, which are the core constituents of the Mahagathbandhan or the India bloc.
And women and men, it's the same almost?
Women and men almost similar, not significantly.
48-47% from what I could see.
Yeah, not significantly different.
Which also, let's be clear, women were his great supporters.
So,
right?
Because of perhaps the recent spate of incidents, and also a fact that Bihar has not yet started, or the NDA government has not yet announced any cash income support for women. NDA is doling out cash income support for women in states like Delhi, which has the highest per capita income in the country, and states like Maharashtra, which again are amongst the top 3, top 5 per capita income, but they have not announced a cash income support for a state which has the lowest per capita income in the country, against which the NDA has, the India bloc or Mahagathbandhan has promised a 2,500 rupees cash support, and they are also saying that they have implemented it in Haryana and Telangana. So that could also be playing a role there, as you mentioned, because they were the core vote blocks. However, this anti-incumbency of, let's say, 48% and strong pro-incumbency is 18% and neutral is 22%. So let's say 48-40 incumbent or incumbency or neutral, and 12% roughly is the undecided. But this pro-incumbency, or rather this anti-incumbency of 48% is getting split into now 2 contenders, let's say, or 2 large blocks. Of course, majority of it are showing support for Mahagathbandhan, 36%. Around 10% is getting drifted to a new entrant or Prashant Kishore's party, at least as of now.
So it is actually eating into the Mahagathbandhan's vote share.
Yeah, because
it's not, Prashant Kishore is not impacting so much the BJP's.
No, there are 2-3 things here. Bihar has always had a big others vote, which is around 20%, which was again BSP, AIMIM, RLSP, etc. So he's consolidating that vote, because now that force has got a face. Secondly, conceptually, it's an opportunity loss for the India bloc, as you were mentioning, because the anti-incumbency vote normally should have gone, or large portion of it should have gone to the Mahagathbandhan, except for perhaps the upper caste voters who are backing the Chand Suraj party. But he's also damaging NDA in a way, is that now there are two voices who are amplifying the anti-incumbency against the government. Earlier, it was only the India bloc which was taking up issues. Now, even if India bloc is faltering, let's say, on some issue, now you have two voices. So the anti-incumbency gets amplified because you have two people or two parties now targeting one person, because he cannot target India bloc for the misgovernance, at least in the last 20 years, correct? And again, because almost 45% of people in Bihar, as per a 2018 study of Aziz Premji University, vote on the basis of caste or prefer leaders of their own caste, 55%, and all India number is also similar. In different seats, he would or his party would impact different candidates depending upon the caste combination. However, the initial euphoria and his support base is largely amongst youth now, 18 to 24, who consume everything on, let's say, social digital media or the internet. Because of a lack of organization, because of lack of winnable candidates, whether this gets translated into vote share or not, something we'll have to wait and see.
Now let's take a look at Nitish Kumar. Quite like the Congress, which is somewhat the weakest link in the Mahagathbandhan, for the JDU now is seen as the weakest link of the BJP, particularly Nitish Kumar, given the fact that if you looked at what happened in the 2020 assembly elections, they won only 43 seats. BJP emerged as the bigger party of the two. We saw the same, of course, despite the seat sharing arrangements that they had, it is BJP that seemed to have pulled the JDU to get the kind of seats that they got then. So what does your tracker show about Nitish Kumar as chief minister? Is there a sense that people want him to be there, or they think his time is over and he needs to leave?
So I think one part is that JDU has become weaker, is again, some bit of it is media perception. And the other is that JDU was deliberately weakened in 2020 when LJP contested as an outside the alliance and put up candidates only against JDU. So on 28 seats, LJP got more votes than the margin of victory. Correct. So JDU's tally technically would have been 71 if JDU was part of
which was quite close to the BJP,
which is quite close to the BJP. That's number one. Even in Lok Sabha elections, they have won 12 out of 16, and BJP has won 12 out of 17. Now, BJP supporters could argue that their votes have been transferred. That's how JDU has won. But even JDU votes have been transferred, would have been transferred. Correct. In 2020, wherever JDU candidate was contesting, only 55% of BJP voters voted for JDU. So that also pulled his tally down. Whereas, where BJP was contesting, 75% of JDU voters voted for BJP.
So they getting more
pulled up So the vote transfer, because this 20% who was not happy at not declaring, or rather at declaring Nitish as CM, had an outlet in LJP. Correct. So these are also, we have to consider these facts.
Now to the leadership issue. Yes.
Now to the leadership issue. Now even now he is getting 25% support
voting
for
saying
CM.
He should stay on as
CM. He should, or rather 25% people want to see him as CM. 32% want to see Tejasvi. He has a lead there because again his core MY vote block plus youth. And around 12% want to see Shant, 10% or 9% Chirag, and 4% Samrat Chaudhary. So what is happening is that his sticky vote of 12 to 15% is backing him, because no other party or alliance can put up a Kurmi or a EBC or a Mahadalit CM, because he is the face of these three big vote blocks. Now when we ask BJP supporters whether you want the alliance to declare Nitish as CM face, 1/4 say yes, he's done good work. 1/4 say yes, because he's a compromise candidate, a majboori candidate. No other alternative. BJP has been piggybacking on JDU and they do not have any leader. They have not been able to develop a leader, which is true also to a large extent. But 1/3 around still feel that BJP should declare its own CM candidate. Why? Because it is now the largest party, of course, due to whatever reasons, but it is the largest party amongst the alliance. And even in the cabinet now, the distribution is largely based on the number of seats, almost 1:2, 1:1.752. But that's the quandary now for the BJP, because if they do not declare Nitish, this 12 to 15% moves away, and if he joins hands, whoever wins or so that's a now we have to see how this 1/3 voters vote when they face a JDU candidate on their own seat, just like 2020. So the NDA could face vote transfer challenges.
That's interesting. And if you look at Chirag Paswan, he's thrown his hat into the business. We don't know how many seats he's contesting. Last time, 2020, he contested close to 133 seats or something like that. Didn't really do well. And it's only in the Lok Sabha that he's picked up the numbers that he has, 6 that he won. So is he a kingmaker, or he would be a spoiler this time?
No, since both the alliances are tied at 37%,
Right.
I mean, if you consider 2020 as the base, he brings that additional 5-6% vote share to the NDA. And his vote is also very sticky, because I think Paswan community population is around 5.3%. But the LJP and the JDU have a historical conflict. Because if you remember, when LJP was formed in the first election in 2005, they got 12% vote share and 29 seats. But when Nitish came and became CM, he divided the SC community into Mahadalits and Dalits, leaving out the Paswan community as Dalits. Since then, LJP's vote share is restricted to 5 to 6%, and their tally
Despite the
is
fact
now
that your scheduled caste population is about close to 18 to 19% in Bihar.
So that 15% non-Paswan largely now with Nitish, because he has created that category and given them scheme benefits, etc. So that's why we see Chirag continuously not leaving any chance to make attacks. Now he has also made statements on law and order, etc. Because this vote block is conflicting. And he also sees that there is a leadership vacuum.
Correct. And he's putting his hat in the ring.
He is putting his hat in the ring, and he is ambitious. He feels, maybe I become the Eknath Shinde of Bihar tomorrow when there is a leadership vacuum, because no BJP leader is even able to match the ratings which Chirag is getting at 9%. Samrat Chaudhary is at 4%. So he's playing his cards to that extent.
Now, if you take a look at the other aspects of the poll that you've just conducted, take a look at Tejasvi. Now, there again, he's got the Envire alliance that seems to be behind him. You look at the percentages that is there, but you're saying he has still not been able to win the EBCs over to him, though he's tried his best, and the Congress will bring the Muslim votes in some sense, consolidation. Does he need to tie up with MIM, overseas party? Or how does he manage, because last time they did make a dent, the overseas party did make a dent, MIM.
Actually, polarization plays a big role, just like, UP in Bihar. If you look at the administrative zones where the Muslim population is high, the NDA was leading. The Mahagathbandhan lost, or the India bloc lost.
Interesting.
Whereas where the Mahagathbandhan won, the SC population is higher. Because if you get the SC votes and this 30% bloc is
when
supporting
you say 30%, you have got the Yadavs at 14%,
and
Muslims
at 18,
about 18 to 19%.
18%.
Right.
So that's how was the... Now, if you bring AIMIM into the alliance, polarization will further increase.
Right.
Correct. That's one aspect. Second is, if you do not include in the alliance, he would contest on his own and may play a spoiler, especially in the Purnia administrative zone or the Simanchal region, as it is called. Plus, RJD would not want somebody else like an Owaisi to make a dent in the Muslim or capture the imagination of the Muslim youth.
Like he did last time to
Bihar.
some extent. He got 5 seats, if I remember, in 2020.
Yeah. But 4 of them joined the RJD
That's
later.
right, subsequently.
So it's a quandary. And Congress, after its alliance with AIUDF did not work out, does not also want to ally with a party which is called a Muslim party, let's say. So this is a quandary. I mean, it's a trade-off, and ultimately they will be taking a call on this.
So let's now look at some of the issues that have, you have studied. And if you look at who the electorate perceives to be best to deliver on development, for instance, does your poll say something about that aspect of it? Who do they feel more confident will fulfill their aspirations?
I think there is a marginal 1% advantage to Mahagathbandhan at this point of time. It is 35-36. But again, I would say it falls within the margin of error of plus minus 3%. It's again largely because both the alliances have very sticky vote blocks. And this 12 to 13% undecided or can't say ultimately are going to move the needle in favor of any alliance. So it all depends upon, it's a hyper-local contest. It all depends upon candidate selection, distribution of seats, the campaign momentum, the issues you pick up. So largely Bihar is tied at this moment, you can say, in terms of an indirect vote share, because it's like asking indirectly. It's not a direct vote share. Both the alliances are largely at similar levels.
This despite the fact that Tejasvi had an advantage in many senses. 2020, 2024, 2020 assembly elections, 2024 Lok Sabha elections, his vote percentage grew. And yet he is not able to cash in on the momentum. By now, if we are looking at the fact that you have such a high anti-incumbency, do you think there is some sort of problems with Tejasvi's campaign that doesn't allow him to reach the decisive point where he tilts the balance fully in his favor?
I think largely because he needs to add either EBC and or a Dalit vote to the alliance. Now, EBC vote also somehow is not a very pro-Yadav vote, I would say. Because before 1990s, the Yadavs and the EBCs came together for social justice and dislodged the Congress government. So backwards coming together and defeating an upper caste dominance, let's say, in Bihar. But the fruits of power after Lalu Prasad Yadav came to power was largely enjoyed by the Yadavs. That's a perception.
Correct.
Even if you see how RJD and Akhilesh Yadav are different, RJD gave 33% tickets to Yadavs in 2020. Whereas Akhilesh has understood this point and gave only 5 tickets to the Yadav family in the Lok Sabha election. Correct. So first of all, he needs to give more representation, more tickets to the EBC. That is how you woo. They have been able to garner a section of the Kushwaha community vote.
Right.
And they also realize this and have been holding a lot of small caste group sammelans across the state because they need this vote. Correct. It is still not reflecting in the vote shares or the support base. And also Jan Swaraj, you can say, is also taking away some of this anti-incumbency vote, especially amongst 18 to 24 age group.
Right. That's when. So if you take, the fact that in 2022, Nitish Kumar announces the caste census, that is seen as the results of that show that 63% belong to the OBCs and EBCs. You've got the percentage of scheduled caste at about 18%, scheduled tribes 1%, Muslims 18%, and the forward communities form the 15%. I mean, broadly, that was the outcome of it. Here was an opportunity for him to cash in on a lot of this to win the votes that was. He, of course, had the EBC, but OBC support was not as strong as what Tejasvi had. So how has that made a difference in terms of the caste survey being conducted? Did he cash in on it? Didn't cash in on it? He just left it? That was Nitish Kumar, yes.
No, so essentially,
is that some anger now that the EBC people say, look, you brought out this caste census, it showed clearly that in terms of jobs and everything else, we've been largely neglected and the other castes have got it. What have you done to correct the situation to bring us forward?
Yeah. So one aspect of it is that this caste census, of course, he has taken credit for it.
Right.
And also increased the reservation cap, but ultimately it was turned down by the courts. This, in a way, as you mentioned, exposed the Nitish model of governance also. Because largely the state is the bottom in per capita income, the EBCs and Dalits are earning way less than what the average state is earning. Correct. However, this has not been latched up by the opposition, you can say, to that extent. Still, it is still in the works. It is work in progress. And because of the fact that a very caste-based voting takes place in Bihar, again, one could argue in other states also it takes place, the numbers were there for everybody to everybody in, at least in the state, already knew these numbers. I mean, broadly knew these numbers, correct?
Correct. But they, see, Nitish Kumar could have done programs and others specifically directed towards uplifting the EBCs and the OBCs, which he doesn't get that many votes in this one.
But Nitish Kumar has already done this categorization or subcategorization of OBCs and Dalits, which we are not talking about. That's why he has benefited from this MBC or EBC category and the Mahadalit category, correct? Somehow the Hindutva factor, which works, let's say, in UP to a large extent, does not work here. Because your addressable market, as we discussed, is 68% of the population, if you remove the MY. So a party which has an addressable market of 32% got 37% vote share. A party which has an addressable vote base of 68% also got 37%. So this Hindutva does not work in Bihar to the extent it works in, let's say, a neighboring state of UP. That's also a fact. So it becomes caste-based ultimately, and people prefer the candidate of their own caste. A lot of factors, and there is significant leakage of the Hindutva vote, which is drifting towards also MGB because they also got it, and also others.
So the BJP, in some senses, because of the caste census and others, begins to actually not be pushing its Hindutva vote. And as you said, in Bihar, given the caste divisions, that is not having the kind of impact it should. In fact, it is acting adversely in some senses.
I would say it's not benefiting any alliance per se. Because caste is a factor there. People broadly knew the numbers. I mean, 63% is the OBC population, or OBC plus EBC.
36% is EBC and the remaining is
27 is OBC. But 13% of the Muslims have classified themselves as EBC and OBC, which means the OBC population, the Hindu OBC population is 50. And that number everybody knew, that the OBC population is roughly 50. Correct. So it has. That's why there has not been a significant churn or opposition or even celebration, let's say, of the caste census in Bihar, because it laid bare the numbers which the local people already knew, and most of the people understand this fact that this reservation increase cannot happen without a change in the what is called 10th schedule. 10th schedule of the constitution, which only the central government
can clear it.
So that's why when MGB also says, or Mahagathbandhan, that we will increase the reservation cap, people ask the question, how will you do it? Correct. Because Nitish Kumar already passed in the assembly, you will come, you will also pass. But again, Supreme Court or the High Courts will reject it. And again, it will be left at the mercy of the center.
Now let's look at issues. Okay, you looked at the caste considerations and the conundrum that it throws up. Your poll is showing that jobs, like every other poll, is the biggest concern, and Bihar more so than anywhere else. So, is that a cocktail in some senses that could begin to turn against the NDA? Because one, we now know that the caste, whatever it is, though it was well known, close to 63%, and that caste group feels particularly neglected when it comes to jobs and everything else. They think the forward castes have got most of these jobs. And you have such a high percentage. What is the numbers that talk of in terms of what is the number one problem?
49.5 unemployment.
Which is pretty high, right? It's half the population. And when you look at the others, price rise is 10%, law and order is about 8% or so. So you are staring at this, and at the center you have the BJP. And if people's disillusionment with both the state and the BJP on this particular front, would that be a big factor that could swing the elections?
Yeah, so it was a big factor in 2020 elections also. That's why we see a party with 32% as the base actually getting 37.
Tejasvi promised 1 million
Yeah.
jobs, if I remember at that time. Yes.
And this time somehow he has also got the credit for the 4-5 lakh jobs which he says.
Which when he was deputy chief
Yeah,
minister.
when he was deputy chief minister. So that's why we see a higher support for him. 50% of Bihar population is less than 25 years of age. Even if we exclude the 18 below and look at 18 to 35 age group, it's almost 60 to 65% of the population. Lowest per capita income, migration is high, government jobs not that much, paper leaks, not many vacant positions. So it's bound to be that the biggest demographic is looking for jobs, careers, etc. Now, it depends upon the ability of the Mahagathbandhan to make it an election issue. Because when people go and cast their vote, so when a young person goes and casts his vote, what is the identity he is carrying to the booth? Is he going as a male, female, Hindu, Muslim, OBC, EBC, upper caste, Dalit, or a youth? There's a difference.
Correct.
If you go to the booth as a youth, top of the mind, unemployment, you normally would vote against the government. But if your identity, caste identity, or religious identity, or gender identity is dominating, then you could have other voting preferences. So now it all depends upon the ability of the alliance or the opposition to encash this issue. Issues are there, we've seen, issues are there. This is, as you say, very rightly said, sir, the nationwide issue. Right. Not much has happened also, correct? Largely perception and image building exercise. But still, the opposition is not able perhaps to provide solution also. Government jobs, fine, you can say no paper leaks, we'll frame a law and we will recruit, balance 5 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever jobs are vacant. But that's not going to solve the problem. Bihar is a landlocked state.
Correct.
Manufacturing, difficult to put up manufacturing units. But even the services industry has not grown there, correct? The BPO, the KPOs,
That's
which
right.
have grown because there is no conducive environment. That also points to a law and order issue.
And huge amount of migration.
Huge amount of migration. So people are looking at solutions to this crisis. And we need innovative solutions. Just naming 1 crore jobs or 50 lakh jobs is not going to help. Somewhere that seriousness people are not seeing in the leaders. Let's say if today joblessness is an issue, we are not seeing chief ministers or the prime ministers or leaders meeting industry, trying to create a policy, trying to learn from the best practices across the world. Now we are venturing into a gig economy, future of jobs in AI. I think most of the parties are not working on this.
So if you look at it, there is a cauldron that is there,
Yes.
which has unemployment as one of the big issues. And the fact that the center is also seen partly to blame if the unemployment issue becomes a big issue. I'm not saying center might also get votes for whatever good work it's done. And the fact that there's a very young population, and Tejasvi has seen to be this thing, the Mahagathbandhan needs to move in a big way to cash in on this and try and reduce the caste effect as much as what you're saying, the youth effect dominates.
And provide solution.
And provide
How
solution.
they will provide jobs. And private jobs. Government
Correct.
jobs are few.
Yeah, that of course everyone knows. And in fact, if you look at statistics, even government jobs, the OBCs don't get. Final question, and this is with regard to the what they call the special intensive revision of votes that the Election Commission is doing. It's become very controversial. Something like 500,000 voters seem to be out, and the opposition is accusing them of trying to steal the votes and cut them. How much of an impact do you think this will have in terms of the outcome of the elections?
I think people are in a wait and watch mode. We asked this question in the survey, and 35% people believe it's an exercise to weed out illegal immigrants or voters. 15% believe it's a routine exercise, so 50, let's say. 27% believe it was not required at all at this point of time. And 13-14% believe it is an exercise to manipulate voting. So we have 50 versus 50 saying, okay, illegal immigrants and routine exercise, and 42 around saying that it was not required and maybe it's a manipulative effort. But people are watching as to what is likely to be the outcome or waiting for, let's say, the draft roll, etc.
Correct.
Because the 50 lakh number which they have excluded or are likely to exclude, I think 30 or 35 or maybe 40 lakhs are people who have died or people who have moved permanently.
Right.
So now this 40 lakh, even if it would have remained in the electoral roll, unless there is massive bogus voting, does not impact the turnout. Correct, sir? This 40 lakh actually should have been removed in a summary revision.
Correct.
And not in a SIR. So the basic objective, which was illegal immigrants or let's say non-citizens, that number is the number which people are waiting for. If a large chunk of genuine voters who reside in Bihar and if their names are excluded, then it could balloon out to be a big issue, because if 30, 40 are not there or dead, it does not impact significantly.
Which is a good point. And let's see, as you say, what the outcome is, whether the Supreme Court decides, and that could in some senses turn the vote either way on this particular issue. But Amitabh Tiwari, thank you very much for the insights that you have. Keep tracking. Bihar is a place that everybody is now looking forward to seeing what the outcome is. And the fact that you said that this will have an impact on elections coming ahead, whether West Bengal and other, Tamil Nadu and other elections, and of course the stability at the center depends a lot on what happens in this very, very important state. So thank you very much, Amitabh.
Thank you so
Tiwari,
much, sir. Always a pleasure.
So that's it. Let's wait and see. Bihar has another 4 months to go. At this stage, it could go anyway, as we had looked at in terms of the analysis. A lot of factors that we discussed, whether it was caste, identity, issues in terms of jobs, leadership issues that we have seen. And we've got a whole range of very interesting developments that have happened there. So let's wait and watch. But thank you for being with me in this episode of Nothing But the Truth. I look forward to having you with me next week. Nothing But the Truth.